The Flash Season 4, Episode 10, The Trial of the Flash. So, of course, this is our mid-season premiere. Interesting episode, without a doubt. I love the sort of dynamic of course, it's Barry Allen, the criminal and everything, and it was fun watching it. I like the way that they handle a lot of the different elements of the episode, including, Barry's case, because that dealt with a couple of different storylines. You have Barry, of course, being trapped inside this case where he's like, well, I'm not going to run away. I'm not going to be a wanted criminal. If they find me guilty, then I'm just going to go to prison, which I'm super curious how they're going to find a way to get out of that, because I just don't know what they're going to say to be like, this is actually the guy who was fake dead, and, which they kind of tried to pull in this episode. But I'm like, all right, well, if he's in prison, what could possibly happen where it's like, get out of here, kid. So I don't know where we're headed, but I'm very curious what the answer is going to be. But, there's that storyline. You have Joe and his storyline where he's like, well, I failed his father. I'm not going to fail him. He's like my son. So they have that dynamic, which I love how that ended up playing out with him and Dibney. And then, of course, you have Iris, where it's like, how do I help save my husband? And then the conversation she had, like just the scene itself when, and I wish I could remember her actual name, but the wife, that was an awesome scene. Like, I love how she's doing the fake crying, and man, it was such a good scene where I was like, I'm like, all right, they got it. She's kissing this random dude. It's like, okay, you did the whole tear jerking experience, or it's like, I tried to stop my husband, but he just wanted to do good, and he wanted them to know this and that. And it's like, okay, who is this? And then she just made it work, and I was like, yeah, that's a genius villain right there. They're both geniuses, so it totally made sense that she'd be able to kind of flip that. And it's like, oh, well, that blew up right in their faces, and, they go outside, and Iris tries to talk to her. And it's like, you can cut the act, and it's like, okay. And it was just like, right up. And I just love that whole sequence, and it's just like, what are you guys doing? Like, they do that twice, I think. They do it once with Iris and the wife, and then they do it once at the end with Barry and the Thinker himself, where it's just like, what is happening? Like, why are you doing this to me? Like, they just don't understand what's going on. And it's just like, well, enjoy the show. I'll see you later. You won't figure anything out because you're stupid. All of you are stupid. We're better. And that's pretty much it. And that's what happens. This whole episode is them hoping that this doesn't work out as perfectly as it has been planned. And of course it does, because it's the Thinker, and that's how it is. One of the other great stories that they only touched on a little bit, and it seemed like it ended up being okay by the end, is actually the relationship between our two villains, because you have this woman who, she loved this man for years, and now he's in a different body, and it's this different experience for her. And I was like, that's very interesting. And they touch on that a little bit, even with the recap, where they talk about how she's forever and always will be his partner, and now it's like this odd experience for her where it's like, like, I want to be with you, and like everything's great, but for her it's not the same as it once was, because even though it's the mind of this person, it's a totally different guy. So I just thought it was very interesting. I was like, I feel like something that isn't just gonna go away in this one episode. The other thing I loved, which I thought this was funny, personally, it was like the second he ends up in a more fit body, like his whole demeanor ends up changing, where it's like he was dressed all scholarly and stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna just let these guns fly loose and wear a tank top. And it's like, that's interesting. It's just like, I don't know if that speaks to the very vain element of the Thinker himself, where it's like, I got a hot body now, I'm just gonna just let my arms fly free. I just thought that was super funny, because I'm like, this is a guy who's been a teacher forever, and it was just really funny to me, where it's like, oh, now he's just in a tank top, like that it just seems so funny to me that was suddenly the way he started to dress. But I love the way, their storyline played out. Like I said, I feel like they touched on it, but it's not going to be the end of that really weird journey, and however that's going to ultimately end up playing out. But I thought all the storylines were really good. And of course we have our villain storyline, because there is, or like the villain of the week villain, which I thought was cool. I don't know if this was one of the other metahumans, like, and that's one of the funny things where I was like, I don't know if this is involving the whole like overarching villain plan, or if this was just like a random dude who was a metahuman, but I would assume he was one of the bus metas, and he was just a guy whole episode walking around. Like, I thought he knew what was happening, which he has to, because people were passing out, like in the bank, people were kind of passing out before he walked past them, so I don't know, but he's going around and people are passing out and stuff, and he's like, I don't know how to control this, and he's freaking out, and he's about to cause like nuclear fallout. And it's just like, I think this is actually a cool storyline where this guy doesn't really know how to control his powers, and they're trying to find him throughout the episode. And so we have like everything going on with the case takes up pretty much everybody's time, and then you have, of course, like our trio of geniuses, and they're sticking around. It's like, all right, well, now we have this new villain. We need to find out how we get to him. We need to find out how to stop him. And it's like, all right, well, now we need Killer Frost. And I love that line where they're like, it's like all the puppies will die because you didn't want to go to work. So I thought that was really funny. But they go in. It's like, all right, we got to stop her, or we got to stop this guy. And so they need Killer Frost to do it. She goes in. Unfortunately, the guy breaks right out of it. And it's like, okay. So Barry, of course, has to leave court, which I was surprised that was allowed. But they did make an actual legal reason. Like, technically, he is out on bail right now. So he's allowed to kind of do whatever he wants if he doesn't want to be here, to defend himself in the end, which they were screwed at that point anyway. So it's like, I got to go, save everybody's life right now because we're all going to die if I don't. Great scene. And he goes in, he makes his tornado, which is really cool. We haven't seen him do a tornado officially. I would say we haven't seen him do a tornado since, I want to say it hasn't been since like the first episode. Technically, we've seen it happen before, but it wasn't him. Like Jesse did the tornado. It was, I forgot what happened, but it was like a tanker was falling out of the sky. Something, superhero shells. Something was falling out of the sky, and she made a tornado to stop it from falling. That's all I remember. But I don't think we've seen Barry actually do it like the full running. Like we've seen him do the hand thing. But like the full running, like funnel tornado thing, I don't think they actually had that since the first episode. I'm sure they had it in somewhere. I just don't remember. But I thought that was cool, and they funnel all the rads up into the air, and then Cisco sends it to a dead planet. So it's like, well, that's pretty cool. I like the way that played out, and of course he doesn't end up dying because he has to go to jail so that the storyline can keep going. So he kind of gets taken out, and it's like, all right, well, in the end, Barry is sent to prison for life without parole. And I love the way they ended the episode where it's like the judge is saying, like, I've never seen someone take, such advantage to do such a horrible thing. And then, of course, that's flipped with the actual Barry Allen, who is, the Flash. And you have his boss, of all people, where it's like he had to, testify against him earlier in the episode. And it's like, well, this is someone who ran into danger when other people, couldn't even get close to the situation. And he was willing to sacrifice himself in order to save all of us. And it's like, we're giving this plaque of heroism, an award of heroism. So that sounds better than a plaque. But we're giving this to the Flash. And then, of course, Barry is being sent to prison. And it was just a really cool way to kind of end it out with, everyone sees, and I love the way they do it because story-wise, it's great because it's Barry Allen is seen as this horrible human being, like the actual person. Barry Allen is seen as this horrible fake version of himself that doesn't even really exist, but the alter ego hidden random dude that no one really knows, who's just the name and colors of the Flash, he's being heralded as this great person. And I love that dichotomy where it's like the actual person is seen as horrific, and then the alter ego where he's kind of just this idea more than anything else. He's a person, of course, but he's just this concept that runs around at super speeds. He's the actual version of Barry that should be, rewarded and heralded because he is a hero. But the face of Barry Allen, the person that people know, is seen as like this horrible thing. So story-wise, it was just good. It's storytelling elements that I really love. But it was a really good episode. I'm looking forward to the next one. I don't know how serious it's going to get versus how funny it's going to get with Dibney taking over. I believe he's supposed to get his actual, like his full-on costume in the next episode as well. I saw something on Twitter. But I'm looking forward to that. I think that should be a good episode. But in general, I'm curious how they're going to kind of play the rest of this season, how long Barry is going to be in prison, what they could possibly do. Like, honestly, at this point, unless Barry's like, you know what, screw it, time travel. Like, unless he does that again, I don't know. Which, admittedly, I wouldn't hate if he actually did that, because this would be like the first time we actually saw him do it on purpose, where it's like, this is how we do it to just straight up stop the villain. That, I think, would actually be kind of cool. I don't think that would really happen, but I think that would actually be, like, for once, I would be like, all right, this wasn't a mistake. It wasn't super selfish. He didn't do, like, a huge screw up. Obviously, if he time travels, something is going to screw up. But I just think it's like the one time where I'm like, I could kind of see that being okay. The only way to defeat this insanely genius plan is to go back before it even started. Like, that would actually be a really cool concept. And I would love it if somehow they did do that and the Thinker actually had that as, like, one of the possibilities. That would make it even cooler, because it's like, man, how do you stop a villain who even considered, yep, he's totally got, like, a 76% chance of, using time travel. So I don't know how that's going to play out, but I'm very curious how things are going to go for Barry, the rest of the city, how Digny's going to do as the main hero of the next episode. But definitely looking forward to it. For those of you, I hate that I have to do this every freaking review now. But for those of you who have not been catching up on like some recent events as far as my channel, I've decided to not do reviews for every single episode for most of the shows. I'm only doing like 5 shows at this point, or maybe 6, because I'm going to do Black Lightning. But for everything else, I'm only doing like milestone reviews. So this will actually be my last review for The Flash until we get to the season finale, unless something insane happens. If they do a time travel episode that's like actually one of the episodes, I might have to do a full review on that, because that's just insane. So if that actually does end up happening, I might have to do a review. You'll see like another, like an extra special little review. But unless that happens or something else equally insane happens, this will be my last review for The Flash until we get to the season finale. But of course, as always, I would love to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. And of course, with Barry going to prison, I want to know how you guys think he's going to get out. He's not going to be in prison for the entire series. I don't know what that means. I don't know where we're headed, but I'm super curious. I don't really have any theories at this point outside of the time travel thing, which I don't think they're going to do because that seems so crazy. But I don't know, like, I just don't know how they could out this guy. I mean, unless they do something where it's like, kind of what Joe was trying to do with like planting evidence and stuff like that, which admittedly he was also forgetting the fact that Barry was an idiot and just went into the house with no mask or anything. So like they still have cameras. I'm sure he would have been screwed. But yeah, unless they do something like that, I don't know where they could go with it to possibly get Barry out of prison. So we'd love to know your theories on it, and of course what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.